I see this seminar more as an opportunity for the students and participants to sense, but also experiment a different way of designing or changing the world around them. So it's more about the practicing of the tools. It's more about the sensing, and that's why I decided to run this inside the forest, the urban forest Agoccia, because this is the only way we can connect. It's like phytoethnography, I would call it. It's like being close to the entities that you're designing change for. For this year's edition of the seminar, I wanted to create a pretty diverse team. So I confirmed Francesco, who's a PhD at Politecnico, Francesco Vergani, who's been studying and working a lot on plants and plants as stakeholders, so plants as legal entities as well. And I reached out for Damien Lutz, whose work I've been knowing for a few years now, and his work was actually informed last year's seminar. And so I reached out for him, and he was open to participating. So it was our special guest. He's been our special guest this edition. And I also invited for a online conference Monica Galliano, who's a scientist and author who's been blending Western science and indigenous science as well.
Thinking about the world as a multi-species affair, not just something created and ruled by the human beings, it's very helpful for you to first thing understand your role that is inside of an ecosystem. It's not you against the nature, it's you inside of the nature. And it also helps to democratize the other life forms, because there is you, there are plants, there are bacteria, viruses, other animals. So in a sense, we are all the same level, but that is not what we do.
So we've been always, as also landscape architect or like a student back in the day, see from the ground, top of the ground, what is on top. So plants, trees. We gave so much importance on plants. Even today in the cities, we are talking mainly about the tree as a main plant, and we are not describing all the diversity that exists and that actually create all this opportunity for nature to sustain life. And so slowly we understood, I mean, it's obvious for many people that as much rich is the soil, as much opportunity give to plants and to animals to thrive. So then we started to we passed from the study of plants, so what type of plants we had in these abandoned areas, to understand how is the soil and what type of composition the soil had to create this opportunity for nature to get back.
So a few years ago, I was looking into different ways to use design and how to align it with things that I really cared about, important issues that never got design help. And I came across all these amazing design practices that I had never heard of, like pluriversal design, which really takes into considerations of different ways of existing on the planet beyond the dominant Euro-Western globalization lifestyle. But then these other practices that were going beyond human needs, like interspecies design, which is designing for I think mainly animals, but including them in a way that they're not normally included, like perhaps we design things that they can interact with. So I wanted to bring along a couple of those design practices, which is non-human personas, so creating personas for plants and animals so that we can design for their needs, and also biomimicry, having a look at how the forest handles coexistence. How does the forest design coexistence between different species? And perhaps the students can draw from that to redesign this line between the university and the forest itself.
When I was envisioning the class, I was thinking about ways to really help students think and act and design from a different perspective. I sort of knew about the existence of this forest very close to Politecnico, and I learned about this project to expand the Politecnico campus, and I thought it was the perfect place or the perfect unconventional classroom for this seminar, and it's just the closest they could get to the life forms that they will be designing for. And
well, we questioned ourselves on the meaning of what is co-living, what is to co-live with some other entities around you, and how to find a balance, and how we can put ourselves in a position where we listen to what are the needs of the plant. So, for example, we found this common need that is to find the shadow to live. And as we are living in a more and more warm planet, I think that to find shadow, especially in some periods of the year, it's very important also for us, as it is for this plant.
We are reaching meadow into the forest, which is the place where me and my classmates spot some Erigeron annus, which is an herbaceous plant, which actually it's not native from Italy, but it comes from the USA, and it was imported by humans in the 18th century. But this is a plant that we could also, we discovered actually that is a pioneer plant because it easily adapts to also anthropogenic habitats and sites, and so it brings life and nature in places where it was lost.
Well, this plant is of the family of the very allergenic plants. So it's quite interesting to understand how we can co-live with a plant that can cause in some people this kind of disease. At the same time, it's a very interesting plant for humans since I think the Roman era, because it was used in a lot of different ways. It has a particular soft leaf that was used to clean some tools. It was also eaten as it was a spinach kind of. But now in this week we tried to not focus on the functionalities that humans found for this plant, but on the other way around, how this plant is co-living with other entities into the forest, so far from humans.
It prepares soil, like it's a pioneer plant. It usually starts there where other plants cannot start. That's actually its big advantage here, because since there was asphalt all over here, it had like pretty good chances. And by dropping the leaves, slowly decomposting it, and having a symbiotic relationship with bacteria at its roots to produce its own fertilizer. It is kind of like a pioneer, like the first settlers. It comes into a new environment and starts to claim it in the name of nature.
So it's really limiting thinking about its plant as itself and with a human perspective. To really understand it, you have to discover the environment and the ecosystem that it is part of.
It's called pariettaria because she's able to grow on walls. So parete in Italian and in Latin means wall. And it's very interesting how we gave this name to this plant only because she's able to grow on something that we built. And I think it's a very human point of view of giving names.
And in this workshop, I kind of learned to try to change the perspective of the plant. I mean, it's nearly impossible to get into the perspective of the plant. I mean, we sense with 5 senses a plant has up to 15 senses. I can't even imagine how a plant would actually interact with its surrounding. But it's kind of exciting, at the same time a little bit amusing, to try to change the perspective and try to at least anticipate how it does that and what its needs in this circle and process we're doing.
What I find really difficult is to find the proper words to describe how I think another living being is perceiving things, is receiving and reacting to impulses, because we are able to describe how we feel, how we think, how we perceive, how we sense, but we don't have the words for describing how a plant senses the world around it. So for me this is, I think, the most difficult part, because even if I try to put myself in the shoes, let's say, of the plant, I'm already using a metaphor that is for humans. So I think this is maybe the most challenging part.
We didn't see a lot of birds and animals going around in the forest, but this tree is mainly use animals and birds for spreading the seeds, because they eat the fruits and then fruits go in spreading around the sea by the natural process of animals. And we don't have this in this forest because it's super close to the people. So maybe people can help with this by spreading the seeds, by maybe going, I don't know, naked foot, how you call it in English, I'm not sure, barefoot, I don't know. We're thinking about it, like, are we walking around the forest, are we damaging it with our sneakers or not?
It's like the line between the plant and the other ecosystem, it's kind of a gradient. So, I don't know, someone help me.
Yes. Having more plants into the forest, but a gradient bringing some of the plants into the campus sites little by little, like a process. As you go deeper into the campus, you have probably less plants, but in a gradient way, and we want to understand if it's possible to do the same with humans going from the campus into the forest. So we want to build this interaction area where they can interact with each other, but at the same time, the deeper we go into the forest, the less humans should be present. And we are trying to understand how to find this balance in between.
My main objective is that those guys will understand that what they do has a huge impact, okay, on the world, the entire world, so not just on people, but on the life forms. So what I want them to understand is that maybe in the future practice, when they have to design something that is in public spaces, for instance, they stop a little bit and ask themselves, am I creating something good for the other life forms? How my decision is impacting not just on people, but also, for instance, plants or animals. But that is the most precious lesson they can learn.
My expectations are that students can probably take some of these seeds that we've planted during this compact journey and let them grow as they grow older and mature as professionals. That's my only and true hope. Of course, it'd be interesting to see what creative outputs might come out from this, and maybe present them to the people at Politecnico and maybe some of the designers and architects who worked on the extension of the campus, and see what they think.
I really hope that the students get the opportunity to carry their learnings from this project, carry them forward and get to implement them in other projects, whether in their work or in their own self-initiated projects, and really keep that enthusiasm alive. You could really see their eyes and minds light up, and I guess it's because of their generation, what they've been born into, the state of the world and what they're looking towards in the future. It makes sense to design to take a systems view of everything and design for the needs of all life and try to keep that balance. Because I think this project is actually, I think it's really meaningful. It represents it might be about one little line between one little university and one little forest in one city in the world, but I think it's a metaphor for what's going on in the world on a greater scale, and that is we need to rethink our relationship with nature. It is this line. We've created a line. There isn't a line. There are boundaries, but these boundaries let things pass through them in and out, keeping these flows happening. So I think this is a reflection of what's going on and what life-centered design is about, and multi-species design, and recognizing that plants have a type of cognition, whether it's the same as ours or not, and recognizing the needs and the value of soil and the things beneath our feet that we don't see. This is all about reimagining our relationship with nature, and what this line is. It's not a line; it's a relationship, and I think that's what this project represents on a much greater scale.
It was mind-blowing, actually. I would describe it this way because we have shown something that we were shown something that was never taught to us, and we are used to experience what may be the perspective of other humans, but not the ones of plants. And I found also quite interesting the fact that oh, it's this way, that usually we kind of lost the fact of considering ourselves as part of the nature and the ecosystems, and the fact that we can find a connection with plants that have a connection with themselves also. So yeah, I think it was a mind-blowing experience.
Perspective changing, I would say, is the most fitting word, because it's more like you used to think about sustainability, but you always think about sustainability from the perspective of the humans.
Well, of course, taking into consideration the space and the resources that other entities need to live and to thrive, and that we should take into consideration these needs as equal to ours, because without plants we cannot live. So even if this, for example, is an allergenic plant, I think it's really important to go over and beyond this that could be interpreted as a limit from some people, by some people, and try to understand how we can really put ourselves on the same level, because we are all living beings, and we deserve the same space, the same resources, the same ability to access what we need.
Well, I'm a product designer, mostly focusing on furniture, and I plan on doing furniture myself. I plan to start new businesses, and this workshop kind of gave me the tools and also the hope or will to integrate that stuff in a more circular business, and in a business that might actually be able to change something, that doesn't only create something new, but maybe also create something better, and allows me eventually to change something with the stuff I'm doing, and hopefully change it to the better, change it to something that allows us to move a little bit closer to peaceful coexistence with all the other life that is happening here.
Yeah, I would like to. I think this is an enrichment for the project, especially not only the present but in the future. It's the best direction we should go towards. So I would like to keep this, but I realize that it's not easy at all, because we really have to change a perspective that we have inside ourselves right now. So it's also bringing a different sensitivity into some design environments where there is not, because I know that this is quite a gift that this professor gave to us, to see things from this different perspective. Yeah.